Greetings and welcome to The Thirsty Mage, the podcast that's always willing to give a game a second chance. Welcome to the podcast, I'm David Lloyd, and this episode we have a spoiler-free discussion of a game taking the Switch 2 by storm years after its initial release, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. It seems like everyone that bought a Switch 2 also walked out with a CD Projekt Red game in their hands, featuring one of the great Canadian actors in Keanu Reeves. And joining us is a man who fits this bill perfectly. He walked out of his Best Buy with one of these as well, with a physical copy, and that's Casey Gibson.
Yep, I've got it all on cart, baby. And it was nice because I actually didn't pre-order it, so I was a little worried. I really wasn't that worried because I was on the fence pretty much about getting it the whole time. But Best Buy was super smooth and was able to. I pick up my pre-ordered copy or system, and then was able to get a physical copy of Cyberpunk. Yeah, it just felt like I needed a game, right? Like obviously, I got the Mario Kart bundle, so I do get Mario Kart. But I feel like walking out of the door with the system, you got to have a physical game, and it is cool. It is cool to have like a big game on cart.
It might be a collector's item one day because it seems like there's few Switch 2 cartridges are gonna have the entire game on it from from the way things are going so far. Like I know the Bravely Default is just the download cart style, where there's no actual copy of the game on the cartridge. Apparently, that seems to be a rolling theme.
Popular. So, yeah. I guess it's just easier at the end of the day for the developer, but yeah, they also threw in some stickers and stuff in the box as well. So it seemed like CD Projekt Red really sort of, it wasn't just like a hey, here's a port to the Switch, but like hey, here's like we put some love and care into this. Like there's I guess all sorts of different aiming like controls. I haven't really messed with any of them, but they've got the gyro, the mouse, all that stuff, which is always cool, but yeah, it seems like they really put a lot of effort in here, and it runs really quite quite amazing on the Switch, both docked and handheld. So
that's good. Now I don't want to brag, but when I bought my launch copy of Cyberpunk 2077, it came with a necklace inside of a case, and it wasn't even the collector's edition.
And it also came with like 20 frames per second, right?
Yeah, and no skin textures.
Oh man, it's funny because I've played maybe like a half hour or an hour of The Witcher in my life, The Witcher 3. Despite I obviously know it has a really great reputation. But Cyberpunk never did it for me. Like it was one of those like, oh cool, like obviously Keanu's like amazing, like that's awesome to get him in there, but I'm not like a super, like I guess initially I was thinking like sort of spacey futuristic, right? But obviously more cyberpunk, but yeah, it was just one of those like whatever. And then I remember the launch and how bad it was, and everyone like, oh man, like, and I was like, they squashed all that goodwill they had. Like everyone loved Project CD Red after The Witcher, But yeah, it seems like it reminds me of No Man's Sky, right? Like, hey, it released Rocky, and probably because they were pressured to release it early, and after smoothing it over for however many years, it's a great experience. And I guess you'll be able to talk a little bit about the difference in the experience between now and then.
Oh, night and day. But before we get into it, I'll just say that again, there's really no need for a spoiler warning in this case because I'm about 8 hours in. I think Casey's about 15 hours in. We're not going to focus on the story, really. We might discuss a few things from the prologue, which is
amazing.
The same for everyone. It's amazing, but it's everyone will like it. It's an experience it's basically the intro to the game. Very good. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but nothing getting into the spoilers of Keanu's character or anything like that going forward. So you don't have to worry about jumping ahead on anything. We'll be focusing on the Night City and like some of the differences between them. And again, just remind everyone, if you're listening on the public feed of the Thirsty Mage, that we've gone to a bi-weekly episode in the public feed. But if you're still looking for weekly Thirsty Mage content, maybe check us out at patreon.com/thethirstymage or heading over to thethirstymage.com. For as little as a buck or two a month, you can get access to the Patreon exclusive podcast, Al Bedtime. So that's where you get your weekly content, because basically 1 week it's the Mage episodes and 1 week it's an Al Bedtime episode. So if you want to help support our podcast, all of the funds go towards paying for the expenses that we incur to keep this fine establishment running. So that is hosting fees for the website and recording fees, because we use a fancy audio recording system here, and they charge us money for it, unfortunately. So we appreciate if anyone who's willing to hop in and help us out there. And it's that's where you'll get your weekly fix. So thethirstymage.com for more details. But we'll get into the Cyberpunk. So like you said, I purchased this one. Now I'm pretty sure I played this on my PS5. I had my PS5 when this came out. I'm the version I actually have physically in my hand is the PS4 version. That's what they ended up sending me when I bought mine.
Upgrade fee or whatever.
Yeah, so they basically the way it works is that the PS5 version, from day one, you could download the PS5 version and you just stick the PS4 disc into the system and then it runs. So I didn't get the terribly bad version of Cyberpunk because I was on the PS5. My brother actually did purchase the PS4 version, tried to play on his PS4, just did not work at all.
Did he get his money back?
No, I don't think so. But he tried, but textures wouldn't work. It was funny. He'd be walking around and all of a sudden the characters would turn into skeletons because the skin would stay in one spot and the frame was in another, and it was just it was unplayable. I don't even know if to this day they've ever fixed to make the PS4 version playable. I feel like at some point they just gave up on it and said, sorry, it's a next gen. I
remember reading something in the PS, with the architecture of the system, or whatever, that it's just booty cheeks. Yeah, really bad. Because I've seen some people early on was look at the comparison, between PS4 and Switch 2. It's night and day, and people are it's not really a good comparison. That the PS4 version is just pretty busted.
Yeah. But the PS5 wasn't in great shape when it first came out. It felt stiff. The aiming didn't feel quite right. It didn't run great. I think it ran at 30 FPS, and I think it was 1080 at 30 FPS, but it wasn't it dipped. It didn't feel smooth. It felt it was constant. My PS5 felt like it was barely keeping the thing running, and most of the time it didn't even you play for 45 minutes and it would crash out, and that was basically the only way you could play is you could play about 30-45 minutes and then it would crash out, and then you just turn the game back on and hope that your save wasn't too far back. There is a lot of auto saving, so it was never too bad. I was able to get pretty far into the game, but I eventually did give up just because it was just so broken. A lot of the times you'd start a quest and then something would break to the point where you couldn't complete that quest anymore. I remember my first playthrough of the game, there's a part in the prologue. I guess at the end of the prologue, you play as in Johnny Silverhand's you play as Johnny Silverhand, and that right at the that switch over, I guess, from the prologue to the main game. And Johnny does goes and tries to attack the Arasaka Tower, and there's a point where he's in a helicopter and he's shooting a minigun. And so I got to that point and I was shooting the minigun and everyone was dead, but the game would not move. The helicopter just never landed. And I'm like, I probably played it 8 times, and the helicopter just never landed. And so I went online,
That's
and they were like, "You're done. Your save is corrupted. There's nothing you can do. You can't go back to a previous save. Like it's just you have to start a brand new game." And I'm like, "Oh my god."
see ya.
Yeah, so I did start a new game, even though I lost about 6 hours of progress, and yeah, I can't remember how much I probably played 30-40 hours, I would say,
Oh man,
uh, yeah,
you
like five
lost
years
30
ago.
to 40 hours?
No, I lost about 8 hours initially, and then I probably put in about 30 hours into the like in a new game after that.
Gotcha. Okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
holy moly.
yeah, I think what happened was is an update came out around the time when that was happening to me, and like that got me past that point. But that was also the time where it was like almost every day an update was coming out for the game because it was
They're
like
working hard.
yeah, they were like, to their credit, they were doing what they could, but they definitely got it out earlier than they should have. Like and you I'm sure there's lots written about, the whole how it went down, but you could tell that the people at the top of CD Projekt, they needed that game out. Like it had already been delayed, I think, by a year to begin with.
Yeah, we need the money.
Yeah, and so they just wanted it out, and yeah, that's what happens. You get a broken game, but
Get a
yeah,
turd.
here we are back 5 years later, and the Switch 2 version's out, and going back, I've downloaded the Phantom. I think it's Phantom Pain. Uh, is that what it's called? The, the
Phantom Liberty?
Phantom Liberty.
Liberty.
That's it. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of Phantom Pain is.
It's
I
definitely
think
something.
it's Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Phantom Liberty. Yeah.
Phantom Liberty. Yeah, I purchased that DLC, and then I downloaded the game fresh, and it's been solid for me now. And you can just feel like it looks way better. It's way smoother. The frames are there. All of the artwork looks crisper. All the movement feels way better. Like it's so much smoother. They've done a lot of work with like the aiming and stuff. Like it flows so much better. Like this is an excellent game now.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was still on the fence, right? I think I'd mentioned to somewhere on Slack, like, hey, I'm thinking about like Cyberpunk as like maybe my complement game to Mario Kart, and you're like, don't do it. You're like, you're like, you don't want to do that. And yeah, like having played it, I'm like, that guy's crazy. But obviously, yeah, like we're getting the nice polished version that I'm sure they envisioned it would look like when they were making it. But on the
Yeah.
Switch, it runs awesome. It comes with the DLC and everything on the cart there. So there is, I think it's called quality mode and performance mode, I think are the dubs. But essentially, right, graphics versus performance. It is 30 versus 40 frames per second. I don't know the exact resolution change, but what I care about is the frames.
Yep.
So on in docked, I will say you do need a TV with 120 like hertz refresh or whatever it is, because I found out I could not do that, and I was like, oh no. But it still runs really good. It's a Crystal 30, right? Like the
Yeah.
only time it ever like stutters any frames is when it does like an autosave when you're changing like locations on the map. And
Okay.
generally you're driving at that point, right? Like from area to area, and it's like the tiniest little like stutter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like very, very unconsequential in the big thing. But otherwise it runs really good. And then yeah, in handheld I can run it at the performance mode, and yeah, it's funny, those 10 frames definitely make a difference. It's like it's not 60, but it 40 is still really nice, and again looks really good. And I wasn't finding myself in like running into the situation where the screen felt too small, playing handheld. But yeah, no,
You
feels
could read
great.
the text.
Yep, can read it, and the voice acting's really good. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, just like I would say, the best thing, and like, there's a lot of really great things about this game, but what really stands out to me playing Cyberpunk is just how incredible Night City is, in like how they've built the atmosphere and everything that goes on in the city, right? Like you're driving around, there's heists and things going on. There's criminal activity you could stop and partake in. You could just go mess around and kill people if you want, sort of GTA it. You can go right. You have the main quest you could progress. And what's cool is sometimes the main quest you'll do like a leg of it, and it'll be like, all right, like go kill some time while so and so's doing something else to to further that quest line. So like I had like 3 or 4 like main story quests or like dealing with that main story, and like I was able to bounce around. And it's funny, when I first started I was just sort of mainlining the main story and not really out of anything other than it was really intriguing, right? Like it was engaging, like I wanted to know what was going on. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, I need to do some side quests. And then you go out there and like some of these side quests are really cool, and like some touching moments, some cool like weird things that go on. And right, like you're building up your street cred, which is different than like your just normal leveling up and unlocking your attribute points and your which you can use to unlock like the skill tree and your abilities and buffs on your character, and sort of like that's how you tailor the gameplay to your liking, I guess. But the street cred, I believe, is just like it unlocks more quests and more gigs and things you could do out in the world as like you sort of build up your reputation, right? So,
Mhm.
and then right, like there's cars to be purchased or bought or stolen, and there's just a lot to do. And
Yeah.
like right, there is a fast travel option, and I've used it a few times, but seriously, like 95% of the time, even if it's like a long drive to like the objective, I just I just drive. It's fun. Like it does have that GTA, like this is a real crazy intricate world that is just like masterfully crafted.
Well, the I feel like so there is the map is really well done. Like it'll show all of the quests on there, and then you can actually just in the map just be like, oh, there's the quest I wanted to do, and you click on it, and then it'll show you like the GPS where it'll be like
Mm,
a yellow line will show you what streets to drive, and it's really good that way. So it really encourages you just to drive through the city, and there, like you said, there's always something like you'll be driving by and there'll be indicators of a gang hideout that you could go in and like just blast everybody, and you could make money because a lot of the gangs will have bounties on them, so you get the money for the bounties, but then you also get all the loot of just like, well, I'll take this
mm.
guy's gun and this guy's cash and this guy's cybernetics and
The
oh
best is when you find a gang that's like held up in a house, and then
yeah.
it's like, ooh, now there's like 3 or 4 of those like loot chests like
Yeah,
sprinkled about.
yeah, and they've done a great job of. Like, I feel like I don't know if I could be exaggerating a bit, but I just feel like there's more in the city, or it feels like there's more in the city now than there was at launch too. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know, but
Mm.
I like how the
Yeah.
quests are set up too, in the sense of that you don't. There's no like one. Like there are quests where it's like this, you have to do this thing, and that's the point of the quest. But then some of the more there's quests that just have more to it, where it's like depending on how you react to what's going on, like there's different ways the quest could play out. I
Mm.
know in the prologue, there's one quest where Jackie and V, so V is the main character that you play as, they have to track down this army bot for a quest, and so you're going to this gang. It's kind of like a cybernetic gang. They've got all these like crazy hyped out cybernetic enhancements or whatever. And before you go there, there's an optional like you could talk to this corpo, who's I think they stole something from her, from the corporation, so she's trying to get it back. So you could talk to her and make a deal with her, and and that's what I did. So I went and talked to her, and then she's like, oh, she gave me money to pay to get this bot back, and so she left that meeting with me thinking like, oh, I'm gonna buy this thing, and then there was a virus on the cred chip that she gave me, but
Mm.
I actually cleaned it before I went to the gang, so I had this clean 10 grand, and I ratted her out to the gang when I paid for this thing. So so when this corporation sent the military in to attack us while we were doing the deal, the gang was on my side, so we like shot our way out. And there was also like this other gang member who was a former leader that they were holding hostage or under surveillance inside the building. And I actually just kind of stumbled into him. I didn't even know he was in there. And I'm like, who's that guy in there? And then I unlocked him, and it's like, holy crap, it's the former leader. And the guy's like, oh, thanks for getting me out. I guess I owe you a favor later on. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy when this plays out like 40 hours later in the game. And
that
guy,
was the guy from
gets
the
me out of a
gang
jam.
who said that to
Yeah.
you. Now it's funny, right?
Yeah,
Because
there
that
was
same quest. I was gonna, if you can finish if you want. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's pretty much it. Like there was just so many different ways that could have played out. Like I could have sided with the corporation and gave them the chip with the virus. I'm pretty sure I did do that on my first playthrough, and I'm pretty sure they catch that there's a virus in it. So I end up getting in a firefight with the gang. But I think that lady ends up like sending in military to get me out or whatever. But yeah, it's just neat that there's so many different ways that you can do a quest.
Yeah, well, that quest, right? I went in there, and yeah, so essentially, yeah, it was like an already paid for item, but now there's like a new gang leader. So yeah, the corpo people want it, and they want to pay for it. And I guess I didn't realize it had a virus on it, but I went in there, sort of playing along, and then like the gang guy was being a jerk. So
Yeah.
I was like, I said something to him, and then one of the options was like pull the gun out. So I was like, okay. So I pulled the gun out, and he's like, "You're not gonna." And then I just blasted his head off, and then I just then it was a gunfight. But I got out of there with the money and the
the
bot essentially. But yeah, I just blasted that guy down.
It's funny
it's so funny that how different it could play out.
Yeah, it's funny too because usually I'd be the opposite, where I would have been like blasting
Screw
the guy
you!
before. Yeah,
That hot Canadian anger you get when you're playing hockey, you just channel it into that guy.
Yeah, the guy's like, okay, let's make a deal. Boom.
Well, that was the thing is I didn't plan it, but then as we were going through, I was like, I'm sort of playing a tough guy, if you will. In this one, so but yeah, no, it is cool. Like that gave me those Skyrim vibes, right? Where it's like, oh, there's so many different outcomes for one quest line, and it isn't just like, oh, there's always point, like, oh, it diverges at this singular point and it could go down. It feels so fluid with it, like, I could change my thought process on a whim and essentially change the outcome of this situation. It's not like, oh, I've selected this option and now I'm locked into it. It feels like you have some of that control, at least in some of the quests like that.
Well, it's even funny in conversations. You don't even need to respond. Like usually there'll be like 2 or 3 responses that you can pick, or you can just let the timer run down and say nothing, and see what that response is too.
Dude, after one of I handed in a quest to, I think it was one of the fixer ladies, and it was like she was giving me a spiel afterwards, and I just walked away, and then I heard, "Hey, I'm still talking here."
That's awesome.
So yeah, it is. That definitely feels like real world, right? Like it doesn't feel static or like oh, it's like these interactions happen on these cues and that's it. It feels very much like you are in this very vibrant and weird world. Like all the different sex stores and ads and then guns and violence, right? Like it's definitely not a world you want to be in per se, but playing as a video game, it sure is really cool to just explore it all.
Yeah, I love driving. There was times where I'd be on a quest and I'd be driving around and I'd be talking to somebody on the phone and I'd like run over someone by accident, and then the cops would start chasing me, and then I would hang up on the person and say, I'll have to call you back, and you have to get like, it's like GTA in that sense, where it's like, okay, you got to get the cops off your back, the different badge levels, And then once the badge goes back down to 0, the V calls the person back, and then it's like, sorry about that. Anyway,
Yeah, Bobby.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny too. So you have a cell phone with messages and stuff. And I was doing this one quest for a taxi cab company, and it basically takes you around a lot of Night City. Not like it's Night City's huge, so it's not all of it, but enough of it where I think I ended up in like 5 or 6 regions. And every time you enter a new region, the fixer or the person that gives out the quests will call you on your phone when you enter the region to kind of introduce themselves as like, hey, you're in my turf.
Yeah, I'll hook
And
you. Yeah, if you want to work here, like I'm the guy you're talking to.
yeah, and it's just hilarious because like on this one, I was like chasing one of the cabs through the city, and like my phone was blowing up. It was just like everybody was trying to call me. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to chase this guy. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, it's really cool. It just seems like if this would have been a game like back in the day when we were like 14 and like, oh, I've got all summer and like this is the only thing I could play, like I don't have a lot of money, like I got Cyberpunk, like you'd be like same. I guess CD Projekt Red just makes those kinds of games because The Witcher also, right? Like you could probably play that game 200 hours and still be stuff to do.
To be fair, I don't know if a 14-year-old should be playing this game, but
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, the funniest,
it is very mature.
Yeah, I completely by accident. I was like, it was like one of the first times I was like, what, these sex stores. I'm like, what do you even buy in there? And then like, I'm like, oh, it's just this is weird. But like, there was something I could interact with, and I did. But then like, I talked to someone on the outside of the building, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we were having sex, and I was like, oh, geez, and it was a dude. And it was like, man, this is super. Like, I was just glad no one else was in the room. I was like, I'm like, wow, like this is crazy, especially like considering I just did this by accident, And I was
the
like,
game literally starts like I found preloaded the game onto the PS5 or whatever, and then I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I'll just hop in and create my character because I know it's going to take like half an hour or whatever. And as soon as you hit create character, like a naked body like appears on the screen. I'm like, okay, can't do this when everybody's awake.
Oh yeah, and like, yeah, do you want a big dong or a little one?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, man, I was not prepared for that.
Although there was a funny Keanu penis joke later on. I don't know if you're at that point, but just a one-off quip that was pretty funny. But yeah,
I think so.
but yeah, it lets you get in depth, which is funny because you play first person. But I guess if you switch to driving in third person, you can sort of see your character, especially if you're on a motorcycle, and some of the, I guess, looking into the mirror. But
I was gonna say, there's a lot of times where you see yourself in the mirror, and there's at the end of the prologue, there's when you go into the bathroom to clean yourself off with all the blood, and you walk out and you get beat up there. But like it's just. It's funny, like, you and I think are getting a lot of enjoyment out of just kind of going around and getting into trouble, but the story is pretty solid. Like, just the cinematic gameplay, like, so the prologue is incredible. I would argue it might start off a bit slow in the sense where it's you do get to pick between 3 different backgrounds for your character. So there's corpo, street person, and nomad. So I think I've done all 3 now, because I've done the corpo, and that you end up meeting Jackie in like a bar or something like that as the corpo. And then the street cred one is you end up meeting Jackie because you both try to steal the same car at the same time, which is hilarious. And then the nomad, you start outside of town. This one I don't remember as much, but there's something that, like, for some reason I think you end up having to go into town for something. But the nomads are like have their own region outside of town.
Yeah, they stay away.
Yeah, but in any case, this is where you meet Jackie and build the friendship or whatever. And then it leads to this story quest where you're in the Arasaka Tower, and you're trying to steal a chip they don't really tell you what's on the chip at the time. Like they're just like, oh, there's this relic that's hidden in the son of the CEO's penthouse suite, and we're gonna steal it and make all this money or whatever. And they and just that whole sequence of like everything going to hell, and then you're like trying to make your way back down to the garage to get into the car. Just incredible, really.
Yeah, it was. It's funny. Like that could have been a complete game back in the day, and it would have been like beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll remember Jackie for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool. Really great opening. And then yeah, when they sort of open up and let you sort of get into it, into exploration, I feel like is a fun time. And then like it really lets you at that point, right? Because you'll start leveling up and getting attribute points and different skill points to dump into your character, and this lets you essentially build out your character and how you want to play. So I think there's 6. One seems to be locked. I'm guessing
hidden so far.
Yeah, later in the game. But there is 5 different ones available to you at the start, and like each one, again, sort of points you in a direction of how you want to sort of play the game. So, for instance, there's body, right? Which is like, oh, you're going to be strong. You're going to be able to like use like blunt objects better. I think it's like the shotguns and stuff.
Higher
like,
HP.
Yeah, higher HP because you're up close and personal. And then there's reflex, which is sort of like, oh, you're good at like dodging and like mitigating some damage. But then also reflex. Reflex, I think, is actually with the blades. So like I'm doing reflex because I'm using mantis blades for my arms. Then I am doing cool, which is sort of the stealthy handgun sort of tree, skills. So like,
yeah, it's the guns that have like cybernetic connections to your like eyes and stuff, so you can. Some of the guns they'll like do a ricochet where you'll see where the bullet can ricochet, so you can shoot around corners and stuff.
Steam World heisting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like for me, like with the cool factor, I was able to essentially my handguns, right, like do way more damage with like the headshots. I naturally do more damage, but like I have increased damage off that, and then I also have it where it like no matter how far I am from the enemy, like it will do the full damage instead of like reduced damage for length. So I'm able to use the handgun from pretty far, and then I can get up close with the mantis blades, and then you could still use the other guns, right? Like I could still equip a shotgun or an assault rifle, but you just won't like have those extra buffs and that. So it is still nice to be like, it's not like you're completely locked in like, oh, you can't use those items. It just isn't going to be the most effective way. But yeah, like there's then you could really get into the hacking, which I believe is what you're doing. That they call it net running, where you can like tap into different things in the area, whether it be turrets, security cameras, even the other enemies, and able to mess around with them. But
yeah, it's all about the RAM, because you can build up your RAM slots, and like when you're in combat, there's only like there's a cooldown period. So if you like use RAM, you have to wait for the RAM to reboot, and so like you could turn off cameras, or you can make turrets shoot their enemies, but they use up RAM in combat. So at the beginning, like you can do limited things, but as you're putting points into that, it just builds up your hacking abilities. So there was this one, I can't remember which fixer it was for, but there was a Ripper doc that was being held captive and by this gang, and so you're supposed to go to their hideout and get the doctor out, but the hideout was full of all these cameras. So I was just like going to town with like popping into the camera, and then I was able to like see the layout of the place, and then I was like distracting enemies and electrocuting them, and I didn't even really have to do much. Like, just hacked the crap out of the whole building, killed everybody, and then just like moonwalked out with the Ripper Doc.
Easy peasy. Yeah, it's funny. I'm like the complete opposite. I'm like, we're going in guns a blazing, boys,
Yeah.
and we're gonna look cool while we do it.
Yeah. Well, there was this one where there was this gang. There was a gang that was, I guess they were in like a parking lot or something, and I was kind of just driving down the street, and they the indicators of this gang in this parking lot went off. So I'm like, oh, I'll see what's going on here. So I didn't even slow down. I was just driving, and I drove right into the lot, and I could see them in front of me, and I'm like, screw this. I just put the gas down and I crushed them against a wall. Didn't
Yeah.
have to do nothing.
Sometimes it doesn't need to be pretty, you know.
No, you're just quick and efficient.
Yep. Now that's what I think. You know, again, like the world is so cool to explore, but then it is also fun to be like, well, now let me fine tune my character, right? And then let me. There's just a lot to do, and like and it all sort of feeds into itself, right? Like, oh, I want to explore the city, so let me do these quests, and now I'm finding out these little stories and bits and bobs about the different areas, and really, like, I feel like they do a really good job of all the different characters I've met, that I've done like like storylines with, have been really cool and interesting, and they get to the point where like it makes you care about them,
Yeah. Lots
and
of personality.
yeah, and it is just really, really good. I I would just bet, yeah, anyone or everyone should play this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, I guess, like, yeah, it's definitely very mature based, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it for a child or a younger person per
Yeah.
se. Um,
There's a ton of sex and violence.
yeah, yeah, like
Like,
there's sex shops at every corner.
yeah.
Just like
Well,
not even being facetious, like
no,
just
well, and there's like the quest. It's not even like I'll just ignore them. It's like no, like one of the early main quests. Like when you first meet Judy, she's like in a hacking like lab or whatever in the basement of like a virtual sex shop or whatever. Like it's or
yeah.
like yeah. So it's like so you have to walk past, like you have to go um into this place, and yeah, there's like all these people walking around, and they're trying to like sell the, it's, I guess it's like a virtual sex thing where they have like these headsets or whatever that they're supposed to wear.
The brain teases, right?
Yeah, or brain dance, I think it's.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, so you go down there. That's also kind of a neat thing too, is that so the brain dance is like a memory of someone that's been like downloaded. So early on, they show you there's a tutorial. You could do a tutorial where like a guy robs a convenience store, and then he's shot when he's like leaving the scene or whatever. And so the whole point of the brain dance is you're trying to figure out, well, what happened to this guy? Like why did he end up getting shot? So you're able to like rewind and go around the scene and kind of look at what happens from different perspectives and stuff. And then there's like heat sensors and audio sequencers where you can like see where audio is coming from, or take out like certain tracks or whatever. And
Yeah, and on the timeline, like you'll see,
yeah,
like there'll be like a little indication, like, ooh, maybe something's going on at this point on this, yeah, on the audio line, right?
yeah,
And then you can sort of go, and then it's like, oh, by the door in the brain, you could, like, if you get over there, you can actually sort of hear a conversation in the background, or something like that.
it's like detective mode
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, then you find your sort of clue on where to go next, in the story. But
yeah.
it's definitely, well, when that sex scene happened before, I was in the store, and it was like, so I walked by a mannequin with a strap on, and like a prompt came up, and I was like, oh man, like what are they like, what is this, you know what I mean? And then that's when like I had talked to the person behind the mannequin, and I guess I pressed AA. Next thing you know, it was like, oh, we're boning, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh geez. And like
I
it's like,
accidentally pressed the button.
yeah, I was like, oh, whoops. But yeah, I was just glad no one was in the room. Like, oh god. Yeah,
Imagine being on the bus.
I was just gonna say, yeah, in handheld mode, be
Yeah,
careful.
full speaker.
Yeah, yeah, and
No,
honestly,
no
like
headset or nothing, just full blown
the
speaker.
Those speakers are loud too. But yeah, it's a really good game, dude. And it's funny because I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. Although I guess like we're making headway, but for right now, it's just been like I'm not really in a rush. You know what I mean? I've just been enjoying like the exploration and again like just sort of fleshing out the world. Like let me see what's going on and over in this neck of the woods. You know what I mean? And meeting the characters. So I've been having a blast. And honestly, it's like a uh, perfect complement to Mario Kart, right? Because Mario Kart's really fun and I like it a lot. But like this game, it's like wow, like this is the like
Yeah.
it's almost like I take breaks from this game to play Mario Kart. You know?
That's right. Well, I think your comparison to Skyrim is pretty spot on because that's the vibes I get where it's just like there is a main quest, but you don't need to do it. You can just kind of walk around and see what's going on. And I'm even having that Skyrim problem of like, okay, I'm looting everything and I'm becoming over encumbered. So then I
Yeah,
got to go
now I'm
back
a
to my
big
apartment.
fatty.
Yeah, I got to drop stuff off but I won't like, I don't want to sell anything. I just want to keep it all. And so I'm like, just dropping all this crap off at my apartment and I'm just filling up my place with a bunch of garbage.
I just
And
go to a vendor and sell it all. Hello? Oh, did I lose you?
yeah.
Oh,
No,
hello?
it was cutting out there for a second, but it's back.
Sorry. Yeah,
But
we're back.
yeah, like I've been to the Ripper Dock a couple times to sell stuff, because uh, early on you owe money to somebody, and I'm like I don't like the sounds of that. Like, I don't like owing money to people, so I sold a whole bunch of stuff. To get out of debt, with well, it's funny too because he's like a friend, and even when I tried to pay him back, he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And V was like, "No, no, no, you just take your money. Like I could be dead tomorrow anyway. You might as well have the money." And
I
so,
did the same thing. I said, no, 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 no. You take that money, good sir.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
need to do more Rip Doctor visits. I got the Mantis arms in, which is like the blades. But yeah,
those cybernetics aren't cheap though. Like, man, they cost a lot
no.
of money.
Yeah, no, I think I'm at like 80,000, something like that.
Yeah,
But I mentioned to you in a text or the other day when the apartments I bought an apartment for 30K by accident. Again, I thought they'd have like some sort of prompt like especially the first time I did the apartment like, "Oh, this is sort of what it's just like, nope. Give me that money, baby."
it's funny. I'm glad you told me too because I was actually around there around the same time and was thinking about getting the apartment. And then but I wasn't sure if there was like any point to it. And then you're like, no, there's no point.
Well,
It's just a
you've
room.
got a PS5, right? You might get an achievement.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I
That's
don't
true.
I don't
Maybe.
know that like I don't know like I feel like some of those games like give out achievements like candy. Like, "Oh, you got your first
Yeah.
apartment," you know. But yeah, no, it seemed like a waste of money.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that money on mantis arms. Those sound pretty cool.
Dude, Mantis arms are really cool. You should definitely get a pair. I think they've got gorilla arms or something also.
Oh,
That
that'd be neat.
I haven't played with those. I got to get some. You know what it is? Because I'm specking into the blade, so I was like, well, I don't want like a blunt object. But given
Yeah.
that you could still enjoy it and then just not mess around with it maybe when it's not like a super important battle or something. But I have heard that the arms are pretty fun.
Yeah, I know there's some quests where like non-lethal combat is required, so I need to look into that too. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, the mantis arms are definitely not that.
yeah.
You just go over like, and I'm always ruthless. Like some of those, like, oh, I did just sort of subdue them, and they're like rolling around on the floor, and then I'll just like, let me pull out my mantis arms and cut your face off,
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
there's a
like you
few
can
times.
actually, I think, like increase your like disembodiment stat with some of the blades, like that you're more likely
Oh
to
yeah.
cut off a limb.
I think it's yeah. Well, it's funny because I noticed that I was doing a lot of headshots, and then you could see like like as the more headshots you do, the more damage it ends up doing. Like it builds up that stat, I guess, where it's like a headhunter like
Yep.
stat that gets built up. So, but yeah, there was times where there was like guys on the ground. And I'm like, are they dead? And then so I'd shoot him, and like, oh, I guess he is now.
Yeah. He was playing dead. Maybe
Yeah.
this guy won't hurt me anymore. He's already done
Need to
enough,
use.
right?
Yeah, I should have used my visor because I guess the visor would tell you if they're just dead or knocked down. And it's just like, no, I'm just using my gun to figure it out.
No, you got to be ruthless.
Yep. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun playing Cyberpunk 2077. It's definitely a much put together game. Like we haven't even gotten to the DLC part, which sounds even better. Like it's I've heard, like I've seen it rated really highly, and even just reading I guess it's like the president of the United States ends up in Night City in like some like bad area where he's being kept hostage or something, and you got to get him out. And I'm like, man, this sounds just like Escape from New York. Like it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it too.
Yeah.
I think Alex said it's like a 10 hour romp, 10 to 15, like of just real good fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in a nice tight package.
Yeah. So at some point we'll get into that, and I'm sure we'll do an episode about it. But
Yes, sir.
in the meantime, we'll
definitely plan on polishing this one off.
Yeah, well, there's many hours in between where we're just going around causing a ruckus and yeah, enjoying ourselves. So yeah, I guess for this is technically a Thirsty Mage RPG Club game. So if you want to join in on the fun, this is kind of a good one actually, in the sense of like it's open world, so people can are going to be doing different quests. So it's neat where we get to share some of the things that we run into. And yeah, like I'm sure there's going to be times where somebody's like, have you done this? And you know, we won't even have known it was there otherwise. So it's a good place to, you know, share your hijinks, and you know, you post some pictures of what's happening. And we do ask that the main story stuff be spoiler labeled, or you know, hidden behind the spoiler tabs or whatever. So you shouldn't get the story stuff spoiled. I'm keeping an eye on that, so I'll delete anything that's too spoilery. But
he'll take the spoiler hit for you.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's right.
Use me as your shield.
Yeah, I'll be the spoiler shield. So yeah, it's you can get into our Discord through, if you go to thethirstymage.com, there is a Discord link, and that'll take you right into our Discord. And you know, there's Cyberpunk 2077 is this month's game, but you know, there's we've already done a Dragon Quest 3 playthrough and a Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia playthrough. I think we might have given up on Expedition 33. We started one, but we felt it's fallen off the rails, I think. So we've moved on to Cyberpunk at this point. So, but yeah, I know we'll have some more RPG Club stuff throughout the year. I know a lot of us are looking forward to the Trails in the Sky remake. That'll be one when it comes out, and
that might be a nice Switch 2 game for me to finally beat one of them games.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a Fire Emblem Engage one as well, probably in September, I think. So
heck yeah.
So yeah, I guess I want to thank you for joining me, Casey, for this Cyberpunk episode. I know you and I will be enjoying sharing our hijinks along with each other.
I'm sure, like you said, we'll have another episode, I'm sure. I mean, definitely for the DLC when we get there, but wouldn't surprise me. We could have more of a spoilery cast episode when we do finish up the main story here, and then could have another one we talk the DLC. But it definitely seems a game worth talking more than just once, for sure.
Yep. So yeah, it's Cyberpunk 2077 gets a thumbs up from both of us. So stay tuned for more talk about that. So yeah, thanks again, Casey, and thank everyone for listening. And again, check us out on Discord or Patreon.com for more Mage content. But I guess until then, we'll see everyone out at the next Thirsty Mage. Bye for now.
Adios.